How about Jahmyr Gibbs, Tom? A hamstring. Listen, David Montgomery's been special, especially when Gibbs has been out. I think he's RB7, David Montgomery is, and he missed a game. I don't know if that's going to reign true when Gibbs is back, if he is back, but what do you think about Gibbs for this week, Tom?
Well, we know he had that late injury that occurred in practice on Friday last week, ultimately couldn't go. Not practicing today. We'll monitor him throughout the week, but let's think about how this type of injury could impact his playing style. So we know hamstrings impact the speedsters the most, that top end speed. It's a very powerful muscle, very involved with that elite level speed, like that top bit of your sprint, which
Like
that's
Jahmyr Gibbs' elite speed you're talking about.
Exactly. And it affects pass catchers more than running backs. And guess what? Jahmyr Gibbs is an elite pass catching back that they like to get running wheel routes and out in space like that. So while on average hamstrings don't impact running backs fantasy production when they return, which is interesting in itself, Gibbs profiles as the type of running back that would take a hit on his fantasy production when returning from this kind of injury. Of course, the re-injury risk is there. We talk about that all the time. I think anybody who's ever played fantasy football at this point knows hamstring equals higher potential for another hamstring injury. But Gibbs is 21, so that makes him less likely to have a recurrence than someone who, like Mike Evans, who we'll talk about later. Still, he hasn't shown enough, even when he was healthy, that if he plays with everything that we just talked about how this injury could impact his game, I recommend sitting him this week if possible. Give him at least another week to get ready, and then next week we'll see where he's at.
So after hearing that, my opinion's shifting a little bit. I was a little bit more excited, but now that you said, again, top end speed and affects pass catchers, and they're playing the Bucs this week. I mean, I talked about Montgomery a little already, been awesome this year. But the Bucs have been pretty stingy against the run. I think they're 8th or 9th in the NFL in points allowed. The Lions offense as a whole, they're hard to stop. I was more on the train where if you drafted Gibbs, you have to play him. I mean, he was going 3rd round. In my league, he even went in the 2nd round. I do think the breakout is coming, but Tom, I do feel a little bit more deterred now that you said that. In his 4 games, listen, guys, I know that Gibbs has not produced like we all wanted him to so far yet, but I do believe the breakout's coming. And I looked at averages. The 4 games he has played, it's been 8 points, 8.0, half-point PPR points he's averaged. I mean, it's not going to lose you a week. It's probably not going to win you a week at this point, but I don't know. I mean, I think if he's probably good enough for a flex play, so I differ with Tom a little bit there, but I am a little more nervous since you said it affects, top end speed and guys, especially like him. I think eventually he's going to be someone that you can plug and play. Of course, I still believe in him. His talent is unbelievable, but I guess we kind of see differently on this one, Tom. So you would sit him even. I mean, obviously it depends on who you have and who you'd want to see. But you're leaning kind of towards being really, hesitant on him, Tom, or careful.
In a perfect world, I have another running back I can put ahead of him. So why don't I pull up my team that I have him on and let you know who I'm starting over him? So this is a half PPR, pretty standard league, and let's see. I am benching Jahmyr Gibbs for. Where is he? Where are you? There we go. I am benching Jahmyr Gibbs for. Well, this is kind of nice. I have James Cook. And then other options, someone like Marquise Brown in the flex, I would play him over him as well.
Okay. So there's some options there for you with Gibbs. All right, fair enough. I mean, again, I do think he's just too dynamic, and I think he is going to have some really big games this year, but it's kind of a wait and see, I guess. All right. Next up, this is a tricky one. I mean, if you did draft James Conner this year, I feel bad for you, but I think you did it to yourself. I don't think he's ever played a full season, Tom, but now going to miss at least 4 games on IR with a knee injury. What do you know about the specifics of the knee injury or what's going on with him?
Well, they won't tell us much. All they're telling us is a knee injury, and he's on the IR. Here's how I'm seeing it, though. If this was a major injury requiring surgery, we would probably know about it by now. Not an ACL, not a PCL, probably not even a meniscus that would need repair, although not all meniscuses need repair. We're probably looking at some kind of sprain that is leading to swelling, stiffness, pain, and 4 weeks should be enough to get that under control. Of course, if we get more information, then we'll roll with that. But at this time, I don't think that we need to be cutting James Conner. Let's just stash him on our IR, see what you can do to replace him for 4 weeks, and then we'll revisit this when he returns. But he's been playing really well despite being on a terrible team, that he could still be effective in the fantasy playoffs.
All right. It's the running back situation out there, Tom, is awful. Somebody in my friend group, I forget who it was, they're like, they were like, yeah, I need a running back, guys. I'm looking to trade 2 wide receivers. And someone's like, you're trying to get a running back in this running back market? You're better off buying a new house right now at the rates. It's horrible.
It's so bad.
There's no one out there. I'm looking here. I mean, I'm so desperate. One of my leagues, I have to play Bijan and Tyler Algier. Obviously, Bijan I'm thrilled about, of course, but I almost had to play Algier. So I had like $60 of my waiver money left, and I threw it all on no other than a guy who I have never even heard his name before last week, Amari DeMercado, Tom, the good old undrafted 24-year-old rookie out of TCU. He actually played 5 years, and I looked into him a little bit before I just, blew my $60 on him. He was okay in college. He was never like the guy. Again, played for TCU back in 2021. There was Zach Evans there, who's on the Rams now. Kendre Miller was there. 2022, he was really outshadowed by Kendre Miller, who we know is good. And in college, DeMercado was okay. He was productive. He was good enough. And my fantasy take on him in the NFL is I think it'll be more of the same. I know that's not a bold prediction, but I think while Connor's down, I think he's going to be okay. Last week, he was, in the absence of Connor, 10 for 45 and a touchdown, added a catch as well. So I do like him. Now, we do have to pivot, though, because the guy I liked in the beginning of the year on this team was Keontae Ingram. And he was a guy that I was stashing early on just in case something happened to Connor. He went out with, I think he has a concussion, which, I think that he's just going through the protocol right now, I'm pretty sure. No, it's a neck injury for Keontae Ingram. So he's 23 years old. He was the 6th-round pick, but Ingram right now is actually ahead of DeMercado on the depth chart. So it's something to keep an eye on. But Ingram, I think, was a little bit better in college, played at USC, had a really strong season in 2021. So I do think he's better. But the thing is, Ingram, like I said, is dealing with that injury right now. And DeMercado came in last week and did a pretty admirable job in the absence of James Conner. So it's something that I think it's going to be DeMercado now. And maybe if Ingram gets the opportunity, he outplays him. But I do think that both of them should definitely be rostered. And you could possibly look to DeMercado to play this week if you're desperate like me, Tom. All right. More bad news on the injury front, Tom. De'Von Achane, knee injury. This is one that I saw like nothing about. I don't know anything about this one. I saw multiple weeks possibly, but what do you have for him?
Very similar analysis to Connor, where it's an unspecified knee injury, but he's been placed on the IR, won't return for 4 weeks. Perhaps you could say a slightly better outlook than Connor simply just because he's younger, so it should heal faster. But bottom line is the teams aren't telling us the details of either of these guys' knee injuries, so it's hard to make a accurate analysis without speculating. But they did say that they totally expect him back this year. So another one that you stash on your IR, and he can be productive come playoff time. For both of these guys, as well as we'll talk about Justin Jefferson later, you need to consider your current standings. If you need to win, you got to trade these guys. If you are 5-0, 4-1, you got to trade for these guys.
Always evaluate your situation. Tom, that's why you're the best, because you're taking the individual situations and you're talking about them. It's great. And again, just as we expected, because fantasy football is the most unpredictable thing of all time. The only healthy running back, or the healthiest running back on the entire Dolphins, is the 31-year-old Raheem Mostert. And that guy, man, he's going off this year, man. This injury probably propels him until Jeff Wilson comes back, hopefully soon. He's going to be a top end. He's not just an RB1. He's going to be like a top 4 or 5 running back, man. He's been awesome in his opportunities. This offense, just anybody that starts for this team is just awesome immediately. But Jeff Wilson is expected. I think Tommy's going to start practicing as early as next week. He's a guy that should definitely be rostered at this point. You could stash him on IR, but listen, if you have any starting running back from this team, there's even times you'll be able to play two. You're going to be in really good shape. So hold on to Achane unless you're desperate right now. Trade him. But Mostert, man, that guy's going to be good in daily. He's going to be good. Obviously, really not dynasty since he's older, but my goodness, man, I think he's RB2 or 3 right now. He has had a special year, and this offense continues to cook, man. And Tua could be the MVP. We'll see how things go going forward here.